You found the skeleton. How would you tell people that this happened? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Trip up. Okay, so we are currently live. Welcome everybody to this professional creationist tier list that we are engaging in today. I'm Erica Gutsick Gibbon, and I'm here with a lovely panel to discuss some of the pros, some of the alpha chads of the creationist world, and we're going to go ahead and divvy them up into a tier list. So we're going to go ahead and let everybody introduce themselves first, and then we will run through the methodology for this evening. And then before we begin, everyone will get an opportunity to give their honorable mention for the evening, who they wanted to be on the list, but who is not being assessed tonight. So we'll go ahead and start with TD. TD, introduce yourself.
I am TD Lane. I am a geology student, and my honorable mention is Paul Douglas Price, a editor at CMI, I believe?
CMI, yep.
Yeah. He's well known for refusing to ever back down from a position and blaming other people whenever he gets something wrong.
We love Paul Douglas Price. We see Paul all the time over on the Debate Evolution subreddit, where many of us have haunted for quite some time. So if you do happen to encounter Paul over there, please give him our best, and specifically TD's best.
Tell him we said hi.
Dan, honorable mention, and introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Dan. Many of you know me as Dr. Dan, or one of many nicknames that float around in the ether. I'm an evolutionary biologist, and my honorable mention for tonight is our friend Sal Cordova. The reason Sal is not on this list is because this is, we're like really kind of going after people here. Some of them do a good job, and some of them really don't do a good job. And you know what? Sal is new to doing the whole YouTube thing, but he's been having a lot of really in-depth technical discussions that are really about the nuts and bolts of whatever he's talking about, and I really appreciate that approach. So that's why, Sal, that's why you're not on the list. That's why you are an honorable mention.
Sal, for the record, would be S tier, which is the best tier.
Right. Except he just transcends the list entirely.
He does. Very true. Very true. Okay, David Neff, let us know who you are and who is your honorable mention for tonight. You don't actually know who's on the list, so you can just pick anybody you want, and maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I was invited at the last minute. I don't have the list in front of me. I'm David Neff. I do a lot of mics and debates on my channel. I think my honorable mention is Eric Hovind on this list.
He's not on the list.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
There you go.
Eric Hovind is my honorable mention tonight, and the reason why is that he pretty much plagiarizes his father's speech word for word. However, he does do a lot more high-tech stuff, and he's a lot more energetic than his father. So
true. And Dapper and I know this from experience, but Eric also has excellent graphics in all his presentations.
Oh, yeah.
We appreciate his aesthetic.
Yes, on point with the aesthetics.
Yeah, Eric Hovind is definitely more fun to listen to it than his father. But he just pretty much plagiarizes everything he says word for word.
I know, and Dapper and I have also spoken about this before, but yeah, Eric is like he doesn't have the charisma that Kent has, honestly. Kent delivers a bit better than Eric does. Speaking of Dapper, Dapper, introduce yourself and tell us who your honorable mention is for this evening.
I'm Dapper Dino. I'm hiding behind my DM screen for tonight for no reason at all. But I am the guy who, despite having a history degree, knows way too much about dinosaur bones.
That was a problem.
I know. So, I have a channel, in case you guys don't know, although I think most of the people in chat I recognize from my chat earlier from my premiere. So, hello again, everybody. Let's see. My honorable mention is Dr. Menton. Now, Dr. Menton is, in fact, a doctor, but he's a doctor of dentistry.
Yes.
And he is the guy that AIG trots out to talk about dinosaur and bird evolution. For some reason, because as we all know, you bring a dentist on to talk about the things like furcula and fused wing fingers.
Yeah, dude, a dentist is perfect for, an animal whose modern lineage, for the most part, lacks teeth. Perfect.
Yeah. Oh, and he went full fiducia, because apparently now he's basically just like, all Maniraptorans are just birds.
You can't
just
go,
birds now.
You can't go full fiducia. Going full fiducia is bad for your health.
It really is.
All right.
It really is.
Walker,
Let's be real.
introduce
Velociraptor is just a weird bird.
with you, TD. Walker, introduce yourself. Tell us who your honorable mention is for tonight.
All right. Hello, my name is Walker. I am a biology major, anthro minor, just, a student. I kind of have a YouTube channel-ish. And my honorable mention is Jack Couzeau, who people have probably not heard of him, but he is also a dentist, excuse me. And he is basically the guy who Kent Hovind gets all his Neanderthal claims from, right? So the really big brows, the large noses. They're just old people. That's Jack Couzeau. You're welcome.
One of my favorites was the debate that Kent Hovind had with the late Bill Ludlow. And Bill said to Kent in that debate, he said, "Okay, Kent, if the brow ridges continue to grow, why can't we map that in people now? Like, why don't old men and women just have massive brows compared to young men and women?" And Kent was stymied by this question, as if it had never occurred to him before.
Just like it had never occurred to Dr. Dino to know what a dinosaur was.
1-800 Big Dino.
We're gonna get to Kent later, so let's not keep our powder dry.
My honorable mention for tonight, I'm Erica, the host today, Gutsick Gibbon, your gentle and modern ape host. And my honorable mention is actually Christopher Roop, the co-author of Contested Bones, who, in my opinion, is a special level of horrific when it comes to assessing paleontology. He confused in a book that is exclusively about human evolution and the morphology that has to do with the paleontology of hominins. He mistook the robust Australopithecines, which are a completely different genera from the Australopithecines. Their genera is Paranthropus. And he mistook a quote about Paranthropus for talking about Australopithecine and did it multiple times throughout the book. And it was a absolute cornerstone of every point that he was making. He drives me crazy. I dislike Christopher Roop, and that's my honorable mention. So with that, we are going to jump into the criteria very quickly. So I'm going to share my screen so that everyone can see, and we're going to have a quick chat about the criteria for today. So today we're ranking the alphas. This is our professional creationist tier list. And so for those of you who maybe don't know how a tier list works with the categories of S, A, B, C, D, F, and sometimes an additional category, which we have as the Shadow Realm tonight. S is going to be your number one, your best. So in this fast food tier list here, Panda Express and Five Guys are considered to be great fast food restaurants. And you may agree or disagree with that. I happen to think that both of those are fine. So for today, those are going to be your best behaved, cool, and base.
Five Guys, best fast food burger place.
Absolutely.
Five Guys is good. Yeah, I'm with you guys on that. And
Five Guys is good, although I don't know. There are a few better burgers out there, I think. Just a few.
Creationist, not fast food.
All right, fair enough. That's fair enough.
Also, there are Five Guys here.
Yeah, there are. True, very true. And of course, the low levels are going to be your F tiers, your Shadow Realm, your D tier. And these are going to be creationists that are particularly poorly behaved, dishonest, or somewhat irrelevant, which leads us to our categories, which is we will be scoring our professionals today on originality. Does the pro simply tweak the work that has come before them, or do they make new arguments? Their questionable honesty. Has the pro been busted in misrepresenting their own work or the work of conventional science? And was this intentional? Can we prove that? Because we certainly don't want to actually roast someone who was unintentionally just mistaken, because everyone gets mistaken, myself included. Influence, of course, my influence is poor because I misspelled relevant when I was making this PowerPoint. But how relevant is the pro? Engagement, is the pro willing to discuss their work? And if so, how is their conduct? And then, of course, for some of our higher level pros here, we're going to be discussing their assorted points of infamy. So, for instance, if we were discussing Kent, we would be here all night if we were discussing his assorted points of infamy.
Yeah. Oof. Even recent.
Yeah, which leads us to the tier list. So this is the tier list here. Here are our pros at the bottom, and here are our tiers. So I'm very excited. Oops, I switched over to see everybody, but I guess I have to stay in this mode. So I can't see everyone's, I can't see Dan react because he's the only other one on camera. So Dan, just be very,
on camera too.
Oh, true. Sorry, Ned.
Wait, I'm on camera too.
Yeah, okay, Dapper. You're literally hidden behind a screen. I can't even see your massive dinosaur face.
That's true. Well, you don't want to see all the DM notes, do you?
Fair enough. First on our list tonight is the incredible Mark Armitage. Mark Armitage is this fella right here. You guys might remember Mark Armitage. We've covered him on the channel before. What do you guys think about Mark? Let me know.
Well, first, in terms of his actual influence, like I feel like basically no non-creationists have ever heard of Mark Armitage. He's just a nobody as far as I can tell.
True. Bad influence.
Is he the Triceratops / bison horn guy?
Yeah.
Or did he ever?
Yeah. So, I mean, he gets a lot of points for being bad at his job.
And questionable honesty.
I'm not a fossil guy at all. For anyone that knows me, you know I'm a genetics guy. I don't know anything about bones, skeletons. I got nothing. I know about the Triceratops horn / bison horn fiasco.
Dan, have you read that paper?
No, but I'm familiar with.
Oh, you read it. Even someone who doesn't know much about fossils, I think you will see some serious problems with methodology if you read that
I was
paper.
about to say, I think he gets some extra points for questionable honesty, just because of his atrocious methodology. And didn't he also claim that he found like some protein with a half-life of 2 weeks, but he didn't take any pictures of it because it goes to a different school?
Yeah, he's also the osteocyte guy. He's the guy that's finding osteocytes and everything, like fresh osteocytes.
He's not good.
He's also the guy that claims he has a Triceratops horn that's almost certainly a bison horn. He has no good pictures of it, and he doesn't have location data for it.
Well, he doesn't even have it anymore because he dissolved the whole thing in acid.
Yeah,
Yep.
the
So it's
beautiful
gone.
the beautiful part about Mark too is that his picture of it, half of the or at least a fourth of the actual horn itself is obscured by a massive rock shadow that you have to actually up the contrast to see the entire thing. Whether or not it's a bison horn or a triceratops horn that has been contaminated is somewhat, it's interesting, but it's irrelevant. His methodology speaks for itself. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest B tier.
B?
D. D.
D.
Is dinosaur.
I
I feel like F tier is more appropriate.
Yeah, I would honestly put him in F tier because I have no idea really who he is. So I never really heard of him that well until now. So I would put him in F tier just because of how irrelevant he actually is.
Ooh, true. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, the only argument I have for putting him up from F tier is that he's not really infamous for anything. Like, what has he really done to anyone? Like, he doesn't have any like tax evasion or drownings or being nasty in a debate or anything.
True.
Well, there is a tier below F tier.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe F tier is okay then.
Dan,
I'm going to come out in favor of F on the basis that, again, don't know anything about the geology or the fossils or anything, and I still know this guy and how bad his stuff is.
That's fair.
The council has spoken. Armitage is F tier. He is currently enjoying F tier. Excellent. I think that's fair. And you know, we will F's in the chat for our neon green shirted friend here. Next up is Michael Beahey. This is Michael Beahey.
So Michael Beahey is, of course, the guy from the Kids record and the Dover trial where he came up with the idea of irreducible complexity. So he actually does have a legitimate PhD, and he does actually teach at a legitimate university. So I'm going to put him, I just want to put him up towards S or A tier, just because he does have a legitimate degree and he has done some actual original research. The reason why we'll put him towards more A tier or maybe even B tier is that he doesn't do any debates or anything like that.
Yeah, very little engagement. But I would agree.
He used to do more. He used to do more. He and Ken Miller for a little while, they would fairly regularly do a thing. But they've both stopped doing that, I think, post-Dover for basically opposite reasons. Whereas Ken Miller's attitude was like, this is now a settled issue. I'm not going to give it airtime anymore. And Michael Beahey's position is like, I don't want that to happen again.
Well, he was the guy who was unwilling to defend his own thesis in court.
And he was also the guy who said, if intelligent design is science, then astrology is science. And
that is true. I forgot about that.
Also he's written 3 books on intelligent design. Count them, 3 books. That's Darwin's Black Box, The Edge of Evolution, and Darwin Devolves. each of which, on its own, purportedly overturns the theory of evolution.
He
And
did Darwin's Doubt too, didn't he? I think he's got 4.
no, Darwin's Doubt was
Meyer?
Wells, I think, or Myers, one of them. One
I
of
think
the
it was
DI
Myers.
guys. Yeah.
It might have been Meyer.
Oh, you know, I should have made Dembski
gonna
my
look it up.
honorable mention. Now that I think of it, darn it. Oh well. So I think B is appropriate for him because he actually accepts a lot of evolution. He accepts basically universal common ancestry, I think.
Right.
And if not universal, then fairly close to it.
I think he's at least willing to go to like Kingdom or so. Like I think
Yeah,
he's
an
down with like sponges and
over-
human.
He actually, a chapter in one of his books actually defends universal common ancestry. So
Okay,
he is
so-
in favor of universal common
Yeah, so I would put him up because he actually accepts a lot of evolutionary biology. I would put him in the A to B range, leaning towards B because of his bad books.
Well, my argument would go A because that's a lot of the actual sciences that he's accepting, but also he's got a huge influence. A lot of people have heard of Beahey, who've read his books, who are not like just sort of deep into YEC Crazy Town.
True. That's a true.
That is true. And remind me, Michael Beahey seems to be an old earther, correct? He's not.
Oh
even,
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
not even really a creationist. He's
So yeah,
more.
basically,
yeah.
so from what I understand, Michael Beahey is more of like a theistic evolutionist, where he says, okay, common ancestry is correct. However, God has to work miracles through it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Kind of. The only thing that keeps him from being true theistic Evo is that I don't think he goes for 100. I don't think he goes for 100% common descent. And if he does, he goes for at least tinkering in.
Yeah, he goes for a lot of
It's tinkering.
like tinkering and
Yeah,
hands-on.
it's UCD with tinkering.
Right.
yeah,
Just
just because he is a more honest creationist and not a young earther, I'm gonna wanting to put him towards the A tier, simply because of that, and also because he actually does have legitimate degree and has legitimate and teaches at a legitimate university. So I'm gonna vote A tier.
I think I'm going with A tier as well. I've also got the chat since I'm sharing the screen. I've got the chat pulled up on my phone. Yes, S is super. S stands for super, right? Am I correct in that?
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, super or sometimes special.
Never really
Infinity-
questioned it.
Infinity 730 says no Ian Juby. We consider putting Ian Juby on the list, but Ian Juby would be like putting David McQueen on the list. Like you're dealing with a level of crazy there that isn't. It's not charming on the level of Ken Hovind.
It's a different.
You would need to add the warp on there in order
Look,
to.
my favorite Ian Juby thing was that he apparently thinks that that male and female reproductive organs have to fit together like a lock and key with an exact shape, and like no variation in size or shape of either organ is allowed at all. And I'm just like, Ian, you're in a species that has variable sizes for these organs. Like, come on, dude.
So Ian Juby also.
Let's not get hung up on Ian Juby though, because
Okay.
we have a lot of
Yeah.
people.
I'm voting A tier. And side note, Ian Juby does dress like a great value Indiana Jones, which I do enjoy. We're not talking even Market Pantry, right? Like he's very great value Indiana Jones. I'm
I'd hire him
for
for a
BB.
child's birthday party.
Yeah,
So-
sure. Okay, other thoughts.
Alright.
Continue, guys.
I was just gonna say,
think-
I think Beahey is objectively A tier, but I'm gonna say B for Beahey because of
True.
the alliteration.
True
Oh.
and funny. True and hilarious pilled.
I'm going to say A tier, as I basically agree with everything said for A tier.
Okay.
I have-
Oh, go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
I was going for the next one. I have 3 words for the next one because I
Okay. We're going A tier for Beahey, even though B tier Beahey would be funny. We're going for A tier. I don't know why this is like maybe Armitage can. I don't know. He's staggered. He's been
Armitage is in second place, even in F tier, even if no one else goes in F tier. Take that, Armitage.
I have
all right. Next up
3
is
words.
Carter.
I have 3 words for Dr. Rob Carter of CMI. You ready?
Yes.
Boring John Sanford.
Oh
Ooh, ouch.
no!
So-
Roasted.
I think
Yeah.
C. I think he goes C.
I think that's generous.
Mr.
I
Carter.
would say D.
No,
I'm open to
Dr.
D.
Rob Carter
I'm
hasn't he?
open to D.
The thing is, Dr. Rob Carter hasn't he published in actual peer-reviewed literature before?
I don't know.
A lot of
The
Yeah.
PhD creationists have.
he does. He has a PhD marine biology. So yeah,
Oh,
he does have
marine
like
bio.
actual
Right.
bio credentials and actual, publications. But he does not do that anymore. Now he's full-time CMI. And he does, to his credit, he does a lot of I think the reason I lean towards C is because he actually, unlike a lot of people we're going to talk about, actually goes out and does interviews and like he actually
engage. Yeah, high engagement. That's a big one.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say C tier would be good. C or B.
C tier. Okay. C tier.
I say C tier almost entirely because I don't have strong opinions on Carter, and that's what C means.
There you go.
That is fair. I don't know. I feel like I've read more Carter than any other creationist, so I have fairly strong, not dislike, but disdain.
There's another thing, though, about Carter, is that he talks about like human genetics and stuff when his thesis was on coral genetics.
Yeah, I think it's because he just makes more arguments than any other creationist around right now.
What are your thoughts, Walker? Where does he belong in your opinion as the resident Carter expert?
Either bottom of C or like top of D, I would say.
Well, yeah. I think we're dealing with a lot of bottom of the barrel folks later on, so I think C tier is appropriate. Plus C for Carter, since we didn't get B for Beahey, is kind of funny. What thoughts? Anyone else want to give thoughts?
I'm okay with that.
C tier for Carter. Carter is C tier. Okay. Kent Hovind.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, boy. So, Kent Hovind, the convicted fraudster, the guy who claims to have a PhD but doesn't even have an associate's degree because it's from Patriot Bible University.
Go off, Nick.
Hold on a sec. I don't know if I can share this or not. I just want to share with you guys Kent Hovind's alma mater real quick.
Oh,
this is hilarious. This is Patriot Bible University. I don't know. Am I allowed to share my screen?
Yes. Let me de-share so you can, of course, come in and share. We do have to pay homage to Kent being in the there it is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Patriot Bible University in all of its glory.
Yep, Patriot Bible University right there. Hi. That is where Mr. Kent Hovind, I'm not going to call him a doctor because that would be an insult. I'm not going to, I want to put him in Shadow Realm just because of how much of a liar he is. He has a lot of, because I grew up in the Independent Fundamental Baptist Church, so there was a lot of Kent Hovind stuff going on.
Yeah.
He is deeply influential in the IFB realm. His videos are shared around, and he has pretty good, a large subscribers on his YouTube channel. So based upon his dishonesty and his past convictions and his engagement, I'm going to put him in the Shadow Realm.
I think Shadow Realm is appropriate. Kent scores low on originality. He scores low on dishonesty. He has a list that goes down the entirety of the Nile for his infamous deeds.
Yeah.
He does score high on influence. That's the only thing he scores high on.
He has a reasonable engagement. Yeah, he has a decent engagement score too.
Yeah, he has. But you know what? I have to go with Shadow Realm as well because he runs what can only be described as a compound.
Yeah.
Or a commune.
I don't know if you see the chat, but Mr. Slaughter said he's the only cult leader on the list, and I think that's accurate.
And look, here's the other thing. He's also the only one who, in response to a boy drowning on his property, said, "Yeah, but his siblings had fun and they can't wait to come back."
Not to mention, Dapper, let's not forget to consider, rather, our encounter with Kent, where he insisted that we dox ourselves in order to actually have a secondary conversation with him. And this is Kent, the guy who I can debate any of your professors with half my brain tied behind my back, and he's, I don't know, he's money where his mouth is with the engagement, but boy, is he dishonest.
Just out of curiosity, I'm trying to think. I think half of us have debated Kent at this point, right?
I have, Erica, you have, Dan
I did.
It's a question of who hasn't debated Kent.
So 2/3 have debated Kent. Only me and TD have not.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's because I don't have any interest in debating.
Wait, is he the only person on this list that anyone here has actually directly engaged with, like, verbally?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the thing about Kent, there are very few positives with Kent Hovind. The only thing I can say about Kent is that sometimes he makes a joke that I genuinely laugh at, and that doesn't really help his score. And then, of course, he's got that nice engagement number.
He's got nice ties, or he had nice ties. Now he's just wearing Hawaiian shirts, but he used to have really cool ties.
That's true. He did have good ties at some point.
Yeah,
But
and
I love for Shadow Realm as well. Shadow Realm
Yeah.
for Kent.
And I
Shadow,
also-
Shadow Realm, and we gotta
share your screen so we can see it.
Okay, yeah.
sorry.
No, I've got another reason why Kent should be Shadow Realm. It's because he promotes scientific medicine, like
Oh yeah, straight up eat poison.
cure for cancer. Which
He's
is
a COVID truther, so like.
Yeah, he's a COVID truther. He wants you to eat poison in order to prevent and/or treat cancer. Yeah, no.
You love
Shadow
it.
Realm for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Banish
All
him.
right.
look,
Jeanston.
cancer if he dead.
Jeanston.
Who's
So, Dr. Nathaniel Jeanston, I will say he is by far the most educated on the list, given that he is a PhD from Harvard University. Dr. Dan and I are doing a show on him next week, I think, or the week after, one of the
Next week. Yeah.
So here's the thing about Nathaniel Jeanston. His research is original. However, he is the king of dodgeball. He will not engage with any of us. He will not engage with Dr. Dan. It's funny because I was asking him a couple questions about his research, and as soon as I mentioned it, hey, by the way, Dr. Dan is doing a response to your stuff. Would you like to have a discussion with him? He did not respond. So
Wow. I'm honestly floored by that. And by floored, I mean that if I had to pick like a top 10 list in my entire life of things that are the most unsurprising, that's making it on the list.
I'm
Wait.
shocked.
That's the whole list, guys.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Jeanston had one debate that I know of, and it was with Herman Mays, and
Yep.
Not only did he not come off as having any good ideas or the ability to defend himself, it came off like a complete, I'll be polite because I don't want to get this demonetized, but a complete jerk whom might have the most punchable face in creationism.
yeah.
Have you read my book? Chapter 8 says, have you read my book?
Can I
I
can I
think
just throw in one more word for Nathaniel Jeanston being
Please.
F tier? And the reason is in the thing that he is there's two main thrusts of his work. One is most recent common ancestors, and two is the three-way branching to get the three main groups for mitochondrial DNA.
Also,
And for one of those, for the mitochondrial most recent common ancestor, he actually, in his trademark, like seminal paper on that topic, refutes himself. He has a disclaimer in that paper that says, now, the thing we don't know is X, Y, and Z, but I'm just going to assume it works anyway. And it's like, no, you can't do that. That's why you're wrong. And then on the phylogeny thing, the man just cannot read a phylogenetic tree. Like, he just cannot.
he can't. No, he's
He doesn't
incapable.
know how to do it.
So,
Which
but
is
that
surprising
an
for a
essential
geneticist.
claim.
yeah, so if I could jump in real quick, he's also one of the architects of the created heterozygosity model at Standard for Truth and Autism.
God.
Which is vastly
Why?
inferior to
Exactly.
created polyploidy.
Yeah, and
agree.
also,
this is just a side thing, but it's bat poop crazy. But created polyploidy solves a lot of the problems that created heterozygosity claims to solve, but doesn't. But it requires polyploidy, which is bat poop crazy.
yeah, and also, Dr. Nathaniel Jeanston, so I'm just going to give you a little bit of a taste of what's coming up. So I actually contacted both Dr. Jeanston and the author of the study that he misuses. So that is going to be a very fun conversation, and that will be happening next week.
God,
and now what was that?
I said got his number. I'm so excited for that
That is
conversation.
awesome.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
All right, so I think F for Nathaniel Jeanston.
I'm voting F for Nathaniel Jeanston as well. And I think Nathaniel Jeanston, one of the things he scores lowest on is the dishonesty category.
Oh yeah.
Jeanston is the master of misrepresenting literature that he cites. From Parsons to Santos et al., like he's
Ding.
horrible.
Yep.
at getting- Yeah.
And
Only
here's the
high-
thing. And
only high
here's the thing with this dishonesty is that because he does have a legitimate degree from fucking Harvard University, sorry for my French,
No, it's okay.
it's very easy to come off as like, okay, he knows what he's talking about. It's very easy to come off and trust him. But he's really, I think, one of the more dishonest creationists on the list.
I do think that in this picture he's got what looks like to be like a small sagittal. Oh, I got a dog here. Hold on. Sorry.
Cool.
Wait,
He's almost
dog
he's,
needs to go on camera.
Yeah, well, I would, but she's working at the door. He's got like a sagittal crest going on with the with that little like almost
Yes.
crest on his own noggin. Yeah,
His
Jeanston-
jaw muscles.
Yeah,
gotta
well,
be
it kind
massive.
of reminds me of Ken Ham, who's like, "Oh, it's impossible to think that humans might be apes," and it's like, dude, you look like a chimpanzee. What are you talking about? You just straight up look like a chimp.
All right, who's next?
Yeah. Next on the list is our boy Jason Lyle. Now Lyle has been on the scene recently, if only in the sense that he's active on our pal, who is not considered a professional creationist, but our pal Standing for Truth's channel. And Lyle, if memory serves, Lyle is best known for his advocation of the white hole hypothesis.
No, actually, sorry to interrupt.
No, please do.
He uses the called the ASC, the Asarptic Synchronicity Convention, and this convention is basically saying, okay, the premise is so in young Earth creationism, there's obviously a distance to rate problem. How do you get light from billions of years, light years away in only 2 days, which is required for the young Earth timeline? So his answer requires a changing of the synchrony convention, because we don't know the one-way speed of light, which of course none of us here are physicists, none of you here are astronomers, so this is probably better for Leo Felius.
Yeah,
But,
Leo would have been great for that.
the thing is, Dr. Lyle, so his basic spiel is that in all reality, the one-way speed of light is instantaneous. So we're not seeing the light from, say, Betelgeuse that is, I think, like 600 some light years away, as it was 600 years ago. We're seeing it as it is right now.
Mm.
So that is basically his whole spiel. As Leo notes, the problem, of course, is that it makes the math extremely complicated, among many other issues. So
The other big issue is that if this is true, it would predict that we would not see galaxies more distant looking younger on the basis of how we think galactic evolution works, but we consistently do. Farther away galaxies are more likely to have active nuclei. They're less likely to have defined spirals. They're less likely to have defined even just disks. All of these things they're more likely to have a higher proportion of high mass stars. So yeah, like it's one of those things where it's like, is it actually measuring the two-way speed of light? No, but it's a reasonable proxy.
Yeah.
Lyle seems to operate under this idea that it's like, if you can come up with it conceptually, it's the same as being a legitimate testable hypothesis, which is not how any of this works.
And keep in mind, instantaneous speed of light is just what works well for Lyle. And also, if you've ever tried to watch any video Lyle has done, you will fall asleep because they're that boring.
Yeah, he's not a
tactic, which is why I say he goes in deep.
I would agree that he goes in D tier.
I don't have a strong opinion.
Yeah, none of us here are astronomers or physicists of any sort, so I would put him in D tier.
D tier, I think, is appropriate as well.
I would say B, because I'd say he's better than Carter, but I also don't really have much opinion.
I don't think he's better than Carter, because I've seen him interact on Standing's channel, and the areas with which he speaks with semi-authority that he knows nothing about is it makes my mouth taste like battery acid. I'm not into it. I'm not.
Just spit out all the electrons, because as we know, that's how batteries work. You just shove electrons in them.
True.
A lot of electrons. Can I just make one small observation here? That is, I feel like universal across this group and our friends who are not here, which is when each of us examines creationist claims in our own specific field, we come away and go like, how are they so bad at this? And like, I hear every genetics argument I hear, it's just like, what are you doing? But then I hear a geology argument, and I have no idea what they're talking about. But I hear our friend Mr. Wilford talking about those geology arguments, and his hair is on fire because it's and it's whatever you can evaluate.
When I hear a creationist geology argument, my head hits the desk at Mach speed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's the same thing with like my honorable mention, Menton or Sarfati, who we have coming up in a couple. It's like, how can you look at these skeletons that you're talking about and come to these conclusions? It's utter nonsense.
And my point is, for those of us there are people on here that are outside of the fields of some of the panelists here, and those of us who are not in the fields of the people should not give them the benefit of the doubt because we don't hear their claims and immediately our heads explode, right?
That is a solid point.
Right. We should be aware that the default assumption is because I hear a physics claim and my brain doesn't catch fire, that does not mean it is a good claim. It just means I don't know enough about physics to know how bad it is.
So in addition to that, there's an important part where the behavior of these guys, when it comes to speaking in areas that they know nothing about, is the antithesis of what you see with anybody who works in conventional science.
Speaking of which, here comes Georgia Purdom.
We've got the poster child of that here. Georgia Purdom, for me, the hairstyle is grating. But that being said, I would put Georgia in B tier because by and large, while her engagement is somewhat low, I have seen very few original dishonest claims from Georgia, which I think boosts her to B tier. She might be C tier, but she's not a top offender in my list.
I would agree with B, and here's why. One, she's not making original claims. There's one full-length talk of hers on YouTube. It's like an hour long, I think. And there's nothing in there that is original. You watch a Jeanston talk or a Sanford thing or whatever, you're going to find something that is kind of their thing. Whereas what Purdom does is just, we're going to make this argument and that argument. Like, it's all just what other people are saying.
They took Georgia out there to talk about geology and then also speciation in the same conversation.
Which is weird because she's actually, I think, of all of these people, has the most relevant credentials. I think her PhD is actually in genetics, if I recall.
Which is strange.
So in terms of credentials being relevant, more so than Jeanston, which is cell and developmental biology, Carter is a marine biologist, Sanford is a plant biologist, Beahey is a biochemist, which is relevant to his claims. But in terms of like the kind of what the most creationist arguments are about, Purdom's is the most relevant. But none of the things she does is original. And the reason I put her in B rather than C is because I don't think her claims are more wrong than Carter's, but I think she has less reach than Carter. So I think she is therefore less bad than Carter.
I agree. And I think Purdom is also less, when she appears on the screen, she's less eager to try to behave in almost an antagonistic way. Like Georgia knows who her audience is, and she's not trying to reach beyond that pool.
I do have one thing to say about Purdom. And in the talk I'm referring to, you could find on YouTube, and you just like Google like Purdom Bible genetics, and you'll find this talk. It'll pop up. At some point in that talk, she cites a paper about like phylogenetic calculations. And she cites a paper that's basically critical of how people employ these techniques. And she basically quotes that paper to say, these techniques are unreliable. But what she does, and it's very tricky, and this I think is specifically dishonest, is when she shows that quote, she omits the references from that.
Yeah.
Because the authors of the paper she is quoting were criticizing a very specific set of studies that they feel got out over their skis in terms of how precise their results were, where the authors were saying, look, there's uncertainty in these and we need to acknowledge that. And Purdom presents it as, look, even these biologists are saying that these techniques are unreliable. And that, I think, is a very clear case of actual verifiable dishonesty. She was taking a claim that meant one thing and changed like the text by removing the references to make it say a different thing. So I do think that
is dishonest.
I think we demote her to C tier for that because I didn't know about that, or at least I hadn't.
It gets worse.
I have a counter argument for B though.
Okay, let us hear it.
Weekly, Answers in Genesis has a program called Answers News, and she's usually on it. And she is the only person who reins in everybody else's bad takes on the papers that they discuss. Because every once in a while she'd be like, hey, hold up, I don't think that's what they're saying. They're saying this more reasonable thing, Bodie. When we're talking like Bodie Hodge or something.
Thanks, Bodie.
Bodie.
By the way, interesting, 2 point N, Paulogia actually does a pretty much a weekly series where he responds to those stuff, which is a very good series. Definitely check it out. And I would put her in B tier just for that. But yeah, part of me wants to put her in the argument for C tier. I think is her dishonesty in that vote, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mhm.
I think the fact that she's the only halfway sane person in Answers News makes
There
me
is a
like.
problem though, Dapper.
What was
There is
that?
a problem though. Answers News is kind of an act.
True.
If I
mean, it
I
all
don't
is.
have Rock's Reserve on the other side of the room, but in that book, RJ and Jackson account that Georgia Purdom has gotten basic things wrong about natural selection and speciation. She knows better.
I'm changing my vote to C tier. I think Georgia belongs to C tier.
Yeah, I agree.
Wait,
C
Yeah, I
tier
think
it
she
is.
belongs to C tier.
Where is she ended up now?
We're putting her in
C?
C tier. Yeah, we're putting her.
Alright,
With
I'm okay with that. I'm cool with that. That's cool.
The thing is, I didn't know or remember what Dan said, and additionally, I think TD is right. While I'm with you, Dapper, I think she is sort of the straight man in Answers News. I think that's almost the role she's supposed to play, which is that's something that I find upsetting. So I'm
Shameless
demoted.
self-promotion. Shameless self-promotion. In my video called Creation Tricks, Just Lie, I documented her removing those references.
She's
in there.
also,
Yep, I saw that.
she's also the only. Well, I don't know if you know. I think Jeanston also falls into this category. Jeanston and Purdom are the only ones who have like DreamWorks animation haircuts,
They really are that bad, aren't they?
which I think in and of itself puts them on a different
I do
level.
just want to say that it is notable that of this cast of men, one of only two people on whose hairs we are commenting on is Georgia Purdom, which makes me uncomfortable.
Listen,
Hey,
Dan,
Erica brought it up, not me.
Listen,
Just
I
saying.
thought about that before I said it, and the reason why I come after Georgia for this every time is because I watch a lot of cartoons, and she genuinely has a very tall haircut.
It
It's
makes me
nothing about-
uncomfortable. I think there's a reason why that is the case, and it's not to cast aspersions on anyone. I see it in the chat too. I'm just saying, people.
From my standpoint, I can only speak for myself, but from my standpoint, it comes exclusively from a point, and the same goes for Jeanston, with the choice in how the hair is styled. They don't look fine. I can only speak for myself. That's all I'm gonna say.
I will say I do absolutely hate Jeanson's hair, and it's one of I don't talk about it much because it doesn't matter, but I absolutely loathe his hair way more than I do Georgia's.
It's a very frat boy hairstyle, and he's way too old for it. But Georgia Purdom's hairstyle is straight out of a Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
It's a very much a beehive hairstyle, which no shade. I'm giving my personal opinion that I don't like the hairstyle, which I also don't like Jeanson's.
Oh, something more sensible, please.
Well, everyone else just has okay, we have hair, except for the ones who don't.
I think a lot of these guys don't put a lot of effort into the haircut. I think that's a good thing to keep in mind, though, Dan. I will agree with that. Sarfati is next. Sarfati?
I don't have much of an opinion.
I think it's Sarfati. I mean, I know that in my video about him, I called him Safardi almost every time.
Yeah,
and that was not intentional, but I also don't regret it.
I think I always mess it up too, and I don't mean to roast him like that. I get like the weird thing where I feel like it should be Safardi, but it's just not, and that's not for me to say. What do we think about him? Where does he belong?
So I have pretty strong opinions on his work in the dinosaur field, which is just absolutely abysmal. Like it's at least Kent Hovind knows enough not to get into the details that he doesn't know about, but Sarfati just dives headlong into a pile of bones that he has no idea how to interpret in any way, shape, or form, and he is so arrogant about his conclusions that it really annoys me. I am gonna have to say he's a D or an F for me. It's really bad. It's really dishonest. It's nonsensical in many cases, and also, does he engage anywhere with anyone?
Yeah, and also Dr. Sarfati has a PhD in chemistry. Just looked it up, and he's talking about geology and paleontology. I want to put him in F tier. I think James Doward in the comment section said he's very influential in the young Earth creationist circles. So I would put him in F tier.
So I personally don't have super strong opinions about him, but I think I just find him very grating because his whole personality seems like I was in Mensa and I am like a national chess champion, therefore I'm right. and just the arrogance of people who always just like flash these like, you know, brainy organizations around just kind of annoys me.
He comes across to, I agree with that. And I think he comes across to me as someone who, when he gets upset, he starts to get really sweaty. And
I have one other thing. I have a strict remember. A stark memory of him going on SFT's channel and blatantly contradicting stuff he said before, basically just lying through his teeth. So
I think F tier is appropriate. From what I defer to Dapper on this, since he makes so many claims about dinosaurs and not that much otherwise. So I will defer to Dapper on this. And I think from what I've seen, the only good thing I've seen come out of him is that at least he admits that there's not a solution to the heat problem. You know, at least he's a guy who's like, yeah, we're working on it.
Which I like that because it's going to burn somewhere deep inside Standing for Truth's chest, because his talking point for a long time has been what heat problem. And then there's Sarfati right on his channel being like, yeah, it's actually a pretty big problem. We're working on it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's like, oof, ouch. So props for that, buddy.
Yeah.
I don't have a strong opinion. I don't know him well enough.
Is he as bad as Jeanston?
We'll go. Ooh,
There's no, can't be. Really? That is I will say, Jeanston and Armitage is, you know,
low bar.
Is he really?
What are your thoughts, Dapper? Is he on this level? Is this appropriate? This image here?
I mean, if that's
E or F would be appropriate, but I can see the arguments that like he's not. I don't think he's as dishonest as Jeanston, because Jeanston knows better.
Yeah.
I don't think Sarfati does.
Yeah.
Sarfati is an idiot.
Yeah,
Sarfati is a mix of dishonesty and just plain outright not knowing what he's talking about.
Yeah,
I think he's high F or low tier.
Yeah, like my thing is for Jeanston, I don't think he doesn't know how to read a phylogeny. I think he intentionally misreads phylogenies for the sake of his argument. I think Sarfati actually thinks that his conclusions are reasonable because he does not know the first thing about dinosaurs.
Yeah, so basically the Dunning-Kruger effect personified.
Can I just make one very quick suggestion for Erica here? Because a lot of people in the chat are having a lot of fun giving their rankings for each person. And what I would like to do is if they could email them to somewhere or put them somewhere in a Google Doc or something and share them, that would be really fun to see what everybody else thinks.
That would be fun, yeah.
Actually, maybe like one of us who's on Twitter just has people at them with these their versions of the tier list, and we can collect them all into a sort of
that would
brand memory document.
It would be fun to see how our analysis lines up with theirs.
In fact, actually, I know an even better idea. We could make a channel in the Dapper Dino fan Discord just for that, where it could all be collected.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. If TLN you want to put in the or anyone else, I think there's a few.
Sure, I can do that.
Just put in like the join link for the
I just put my channel email in the thing, so people might email me.
Perfect.
And whatever.
Yeah.
We will do our best to collect it, because I do think that this is fun. I've been trying to keep an eye on the chat as well, and again on my phone. And
Morgan and CRISPR are like doing each one. It seems like.
Yeah. I think there's we tend to all fall in the same like within plus or minus one tier. We tend to fall within the same range.
There haven't been any heated discussions so far, so we'll see what happens next. Oh, here we go.
Yeah. So what do we think? What do we think?
Can I, Erica?
I'll be honest, I don't recognize this one by face, so you're gonna have to give me the name.
It's Sanford.
Sanford.
It's Sanford.
Okay.
John
So,
Sanford, ladies and gentlemen.
So
Okay.
Dr. Sanford, I would put him in.
Can I start this off? Because
We'll let Dan go ahead and go, and then we'll toss it over to Neff, because I'm interested in hearing everybody's thoughts.
the reason I love this one is because I am the recent recipient of some direct attention from John Sanford by way of a article on the CMI blog written by Paul Price and Rob Carter and John Sanford, because John Sanford's claim to fame is genetic entropy, which is my absolute favorite bad genetics argument. You will never find a better bad genetics argument than genetic entropy. As our friend CRISPR-Cas9 is saying, it is an argument about math that contains no math. It is everything about it. Every assumption is wrong. Every conclusion is wrong. Everything about how like the mechanisms of evolution work is wrong. It is just perfect. And for that reason, not only, okay, so put all that aside, John Sanford, along with Carter and Price, recently wrote a response to the critics of genetic entropy. And it was Carter and Price mostly writing it. Paul Price of, I think that was Lane's honorable mention Price.
Yes.
And so they wrote most of it, but then Sanford contributed like a paragraph at the end of each section. And Sanford's paragraph was amazing. In every section, Sanford's paragraph was just like, how dare these cretins question our conclusions? We are obviously right, and they know nothing about the subject. Even if they're credentialed, they haven't studied this specific thing. When, like, first of all, two of the people mentioned in that piece were one, Joe Felsenstein, who, if you know who that is, like, the population genetics guy, okay? Like, literally wrote the book. Literally.
Yeah, I was just going to say, didn't he write the standard, like, textbook on that?
If you take Pop in grad school, you're using his textbook. Yes.
I love it. I love it.
And then and then I was one of the other people who was like, hasn't studied this specific thing. Dude, this is what my thesis was on. Like, literally, this is what my thesis was on.
Didn't you say that at one point you tried to like hypermutate into oblivion some viruses and you couldn't do it?
It was literally what I did for my thesis was use a cytosine-specific mutagen to induce error catastrophe in a group of viruses that have an elevated cytosine-specific mutation rate. That was like my job as a graduate student was to induce genetic entropy. That was what I did.
And you failed hard, right?
Oh, it did not work. Let me say, I made them go extinct. I could not prove it was due to mutation accumulation.
Okay.
That was... Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So would it be accurate to say, Dan?
All this is to say, John Sanford joined Nathaniel and it's Fred, right? It's Fred. John.
Mark.
Mark. I don't.
Mark.
It's
Mark.
Armitage. Yeah.
I don't know the fossil people. Join Nathaniel and Mark in.
Yeah,
F.
I would also put him in F tier, but also isn't he the guy behind Mendel's accountant?
Yup.
Yep.
Yup.
So yeah,
you mean the genetic entropy simulator that doesn't match experimental results?
The thing you cannot make match real world results if you try. There is nothing you can do to make it match. For example, the Lenski experiment.
So, let us consider for a moment too that we've been talking about Sanford, who is, if memory serves, a plant geneticist. Yes. So we've been discussing Sanford, who is also the co-author on Conflicted Bones with Christopher Roop, a book on paleontology. So I am yeeting this boy directly into the shadow realm, but I can be F tier. I can be convinced of F tier.
So here's one thing I want to say about stepping outside of your field as someone who talks a lot on the internet about dinosaurs, but whose degree is definitely not anything to do with dinosaurs. It's not wrong to go outside of your professional training.
Agreed.
But the difference is when I talk to professional paleontologists, which I do, they come across as being like, oh yeah, no, your ideas about all these organisms are correct. And when I say, well, what about this? Have we considered this? And like, oh, that's actually a good idea. Like, I actually get feedback from the wider paleontology community that's like, yeah, no, you roughly know what you're talking about. But I don't think the same would be the case for plant geneticist Sanford talking about paleoanthropology.
So here's the thing, Dapper, and I've said this before on this channel many times. It is more than okay. It's welcomed for people to try and investigate outside of their field. That's like the coolest thing ever. You don't have a degree in something, you don't have formal study, but you want to learn more about it, and you even want to try and teach other people what you've learned. That's incredible, and I support it. The thing is, when you're speaking outside of your field, it is imperative to source your claims appropriately. And as someone, and RJ has done the footwork on this, the legwork on it, but as someone who has secondarily been combing through Contested Bones by Sanford and Roop, I can tell you firsthand that I have seen some of the most egregious misrepresentation of sourcing and downright inappropriate sourcing. He sources like magazine articles in that book.
Hey, at least you're getting sources.
Period.
Creationist on dinosaurs. Here's the sourcing that usually happens. I found a skeletal reconstruction, and I'm not going to cite who drew it.
Yeah, exactly. And
That's
Beautiful.
it's one because like they're just making stuff up out of thin air, and then every once in a while they give a fiducia quote, and that's all you get. You get a fiducia quote and unattributed skeletal reconstructions.
God, you gotta love that it's all fiducia too. You really do. All right.
Yeah, it's fiducia, but yeah, I'm okay with F or Shadow Realm. I have
can
no
go with
preference.
It gets worse because I've got the killer one here for putting him in the Shadow Realm.
Okay, tell us.
He uses, as Dan said, an argument that is based entirely on math, but does not give any math for that.
Yep.
You know who else makes arguments based entirely on math but don't give math? Flat Earthers.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, he's flat Earth level creationist. Okay.
He deserves the Shadow Realm. Goodbye.
I had flat Earther in my chat today.
I vote Shadow Realm.
Nice.
His connection with Sal makes me want to go easier on him because we do love Sal on this channel. But honestly, his individual work, I am not okay with at all. And I think that everyone here has made a decent case for the Shadow Realm. And I think Kent is lonely. So let's put him in the Shadow Realm and we can reassess at the end and see if maybe we can cool off and see how we feel at the end.
I'm sorry, Sanford. I'm sorry, you've lost a children's card game.
Sanford and Kent's shirts kind of match.
True.
It looks like they're wearing a single shirt, and I kind of like it.
I think it looks more like they're an amalgamation of like a two-headed creationist, cosmic deity down there.
Oh, this like the eldritch horror of creationism.
Very Lovecraftian.
Okay. That works for me too.
So next on the list is, if memory serves, I believe this is Andrew Snelling.
Oh yes.
Oh, goodness.
So Dr. Andrew Snelling, I think he knows that he's wrong because he has published in actual peer-reviewed literature where he actually uses the the accepted millions of years, and in one of his papers he actually puts up the entire geological column. So yeah. I would just because he does seem to be very dishonest, and given that he does have a very large influence and he's very influential in the geology realm, I almost want to put him in F tier for that reason.
I'm D tier Andrew Snelling.
I feel like he's not as bad as Armitage or Jeanston. Although, isn't he the guy who was disbarred from collecting samples in the Grand Canyon because he'd been dishonest about his sampling methods, and then when he cried religious persecution, the Parks Department of Space or the National Parks were just like fine.
If memory serves me, yes. Again, we need to ask Mr. Wilford for more deets. But he's the guy that put people in front of cracks and rocks to hide that there were.
Oh yeah, that there were cracks there. Yeah, he dishonestly placed. Oh yeah, people. Oh my, yeah.
F tier. I've been won over to F tier. Also, let us not forget that Snelling is like the Radio Halo guy.
Oh yeah.
The work on Radio Halos is extensive. Snelling should know better on that, and he's also the guy who has multiple times had volcanic rock from recent eruptions radiometrically dated, which anyone worth their salt, and we know he's worth his salt because he's published in peer-reviewed journals with conventional timescales, knows better than to attempt to do that. It's like measuring a truck on a microscope. It doesn't work.
And of course, how come Vesuvius dates to the same calendar year as the historical example, Snelling? How come it works so well on Vesuvius?
Can I just jump in for 1 second, everybody, real fast? It is already almost 9 o'clock, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people after Snelling. So
Snelling F tier.
Okay.
I'll agree.
I would put him above Jeanston, though. Top of F.
Top of F?
F plus. F plus.
We'll put Stadler D tier.
I'm gonna look. I actually have his book. I've read it. I'm gonna do a review at some point. I just haven't had time. I have all the notes for it. I just need to actually sit down and make the stream. It's completely unoriginal. That's what I will say for Stadler. There is nothing in that book that I had not read in someone else's book before. Yeah. So that's why I lean, and it's because it's completely predictable. I would lean C.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I have no idea who he is, so he has no influence, at least to me. So I will put him in C.
Very
tier.
low influence, yeah.
And that's the same reason we gave Purdom a C, is because she's not really doing anything new. So if that's good for her to be in a C, then I would say that's good for him to be in a C.
I would say I would definitely say Stadler's a C, but then again, that's low confidence tiering.
Yeah, true. That's the whole reason I was going to argue he's D tier, is because that high low confidence thing. But I've been outvoted, so we can put him in C tier.
Okay.
Next up is Jeffrey Tompkins. I am of the personal opinion that Dr. Jeffrey Tompkins belongs in the Shadow Realm. And
I agree.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
by
the
the way-
reason,
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
the reason.
I was going to say D, but okay.
No. His
Real quick.
arguments. Oh God, you go first. Now. You go first.
So Tompkins' whole spiel is that he created a computer program that allegedly showed that humans and chimpanzees really share only 75% genetic match instead of the scientifically consensus 99%. So that's his whole spiel. The problem is not only his methodology, but apparently there was a computer bug in that software that completely invalidated his results. And someone else actually wrote a paper. I actually have the bookmarked.
Glenn Williamson did that. Also known as Ruhif online.
Yeah, and just because of that, and he was actually forced to revise his stuff because so much stuff has been actually done that actually said, hey, this is simply wrong, and he was forced to revise his numbers. But of course, the original paper is still on Answers to Genesis, with no notice saying, hey, this is wrong, or that was such a huge
no
error.
corrections, annotations.
Actually, so I don't know if this is accurate because I'm not familiar with his work except for the chromosome 2 stuff, which is awful and easily D tier level work. But CRISPR Cas9 in the chat said Tompkins admitted an error in a way.
Yeah.
That's pretty good for a creationist.
You know, that
No, guys, his whole thing with the methodology behind the human chimp comparison, you could have 300 base pairs that's being compared between a human and a chimp, and if that number 150, there's a difference between humans and chimps, one single point mutation difference, he would call them 50% similar if it offset the rest of them.
If it was an indel, it would.
He has no idea how to do a genomic comparison. And here's the most egregious thing. This is the guy who's leading the whole charge on no fusion in human chromosome 2. He ignores the centromere work. For the alphoid repeats, which definitively make this.
But there's a highly expressed gene there, Erica. Come on.
Oh yeah, DDX11L2, right? The one with the promoter upstream, right?
The only DDX whatever pseudogene that is not immediately adjacent to a telomere. Just coincidentally, I'm sure.
Just because.
Tompkins.
Just who God designed it, please accept it, evolutionists.
Listen, I will go with what you guys think on this one. For me personally, Tompkins is a shadow realmer just because of his work on chromosome 2 and on the chimpanzee person.
I agree. Shadow Realm it goes. I think he belongs in Shadow Realm.
I think his methodology for a plant geneticist. What is I think he.
The reason. Let me make one more argument in favor of F. If I can't get you to D, let me make one more argument for F. And the reason I think Sanford ends up in the Shadow Realm is because this is a guy who's not only making an absolutely god-awful genetics argument, he's also turning around and making an equally awful anthropology argument, right? Whereas I think Tompkins is keeping it more specific, and he's not like just all over the place, just talking.
I can see that.
You know what I mean? So I think
I'm okay. I'm okay with that, and I think too. Sorry to interrupt, but CRISPR also said that he's got work on like Kent does. I believe he's talking about Tompkins.
Yeah, Kent has like nothing.
I've got a personal beef with Tompkins, but I can be convinced of F here because that is correct. I do like that he admitted his mistake when Glenn Williamson pointed out that he was using a bugged version of BLAST, which was the only reason he admitted a mistake. He has not done the same thing for his human chromosome 2 work that has been BTFO'd and his work with the human chimp comparison, even with base pairs. But I'm convinced of F tier because he is not on Kent and Sam level.
Let's go with F.
Yeah, I go with F. I think F is good for him.
Okay.
Also, it's making me so uncomfortable that there's that hole in F tier.
I know. I don't know what's going on here. Look at this. Wait.
Oh, it's working.
We'll
That's
put,
yours.
Crazy on the side.
we'll put
Slightly
him to
cursed.
the edge.
Dapper,
Oh,
light the incense.
beautiful.
There you go.
Yeah, the secret machine oils are coming out.
Okay.
All right, what's
this-
next?
I would still leave Armitage and Jeanston behind the hole, but that's
I believe
right. Who's next?
Steve Austin. I had to check. This is Steve Austin. He's the geologist.
Shallow roam.
I got nothing. I'm out.
Shadow roam.
Yeah,
Um,
Steve
okay.
Austin.
So I think we got to remember Kent Hovind is sort of like the poster boy for Shadow Realm. So if you can't say that he's at least on the Kent Hovind level, Shadow Realm is iffy.
I mean,
I'm
Shadow
deep
Realm
here.
is
I'm
really
deep
high
here.
standards.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm deep
to
here.
me, just because I know who he is, but really don't see him being anywhere near as influential as Kent Hovind, I would put him in F tier.
F tier.
There's a reason why Steve Austin is Shadow Realm. He does perfectly good non-creationist work that is actually decent quality.
All right,
But
but
as soon as you go to his creationist work, it completely drops. He's the one that did the Mount St. Helens datings.
Oh god.
Oh, that guy.
here's one thing though. My one argument, I'm only making one argument, and it's for S tier because he is the $6 million man, a literal superhero. After he came back from space in a space crash, they rebuilt him because they had the technology. They made him better than he was before. That's all I've got.
Dapper,
Yes, it's a reference to 60s TV. Sue me.
While that is an excellent case, I would argue, I think that if what TD said is true, and I believe him because he's our resident geology guy, I am going to I'm
Wilford's way more competent than me on the subject.
well, Wilford is ahead of you though academically, I think. Like,
Yes, he is.
Yeah, so he is, and Covert too. Covert too he's an actual geologist.
I am not an expert whatsoever.
I'm going with F tier because if what you said is true, then he maps with Snelling, which is doing fine work when he's not doing creationist stuff, and then just throwing caution to the wind. I don't think he's Shadow Realm. I think he's F tier.
Yeah, I would agree with F tier.
Okay, we're on F tier. He's tossed in F tier. Kurt Wise, where do we think Kurt Wise belongs?
pretty high. Wait,
Maybe
he was.
B.
I
Yeah,
don't know who
I would
he
be
is.
fine with
I'm
B.
gonna say B.
B tier.
B.
What is his deal? I don't know who Kurt Wise is.
Kurt Wise.
He's one of like the honest ones.
He's pretty down the middle.
Given
Yeah.
the fact that I never heard of him, I would put him in B tier just because I never heard of him and doesn't really have much influence.
I would say he's pretty influential, but it's not. He's not cited as much by like the YouTube dudes.
Yeah, I'm fine with B tier, and the reason he's not cited as much is because he's decently progressive.
Yeah.
I'm fine with B tier. Are we good with B tier for Kurt
Yeah,
Wise?
I think B's fine. Kurt Wise, B. Next.
Yeah, Kurt Wise is like their only actual paleontologist.
Todd
He's,
Wood.
Yeah, and
Okay,
and he
I
admits
want to just defend Todd Wood, and I want to put him in the S tier.
We're
Sorry,
at
I forgot about Todd Wood. I do agree though.
yeah, no, I'm
I mean,
Yeah,
he
go
makes
ahead.
things I disagree with, but he has basically been disowned by a huge range of the creationist community because he has the nerve to say things like evolution is well supported and it is not a period of crisis. And like, how many like legit creationists actually say that? Not very many.
and also whenever I see him on a video or something, he's just as liable to call out what he sees as bad scholarship or just bad behavior with other creationists as he is to try to do the same thing with his say ideological opponents. So I think that also puts him in S tier.
Look at the
Yeah.
cute
And
little.
why is he actually? So the question is, why is he actually a creationist if he knows that evolution is well supported?
Prior
It's
theological
fake.
commitment.
Yeah, it's his
Hey,
face.
yeah. And he
Yep.
said as
He
much.
said
That's
that.
not just us filling in the blanks. He said as
Yeah,
much.
which hey, you know what? At
He's
least that's honest.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he basically says, I'm a young earth creationist because I believe the Bible and the Bible supports young earth creationism. It's nothing to do with science or anything like that, just the Bible.
I don't
Yeah.
think he says it's nothing to do with science. What he says is that right now there is plenty of legit evidence for and so on, but because of his faith, he holds a different. He draws a different conclusion, and anyone can correct me if you think this is wrong. But my impression is that, and basically his position is that ultimately we're going to see that position is correct, but right now where the science is not that.
Yeah, that's my impression of him too.
If memory serves, yes, and I have a lot of respect for how Todd Wood has tried to deal with the hominins too, because that's obviously what I know and what I pay attention to, and he genuinely looks at these suites of derived characteristics, and he tries to come up with reasonable categorizations, and it makes him very unpopular with the creationists because you end up with very apish looking organisms in the Homo clade that he considers to be, you know, true humans. But I respect him for that because he's genuinely consulting the literature. I've read Todd's blog. He calls his blog Todd's blog, which is adorable. And also look at his cute little grin here. He and Beahey both look so thrilled to have their picture.
They do. They look the most genuinely happy to be here.
Yeah,
they're happy to be part of this tier list.
they are. They're very
Because
happy.
they're at the top, to be fair.
They are. Yeah, they're very much in an ivory tower.
So wait, are we just basing this on how genuine the smiles look?
If we are, then there's a reason Kent, who looks like he's been caught in the act of something, is
That's just my favorite Kent Hovind picture. If you take a look at the original picture, he's like holding up this piece of wood for some reason, and he looks just utterly baffled.
He's gobsmacked by this, and that's why I picked it, because I saw it and I was like, this is a very funny picture of Kent, and it was like it seems recent.
That's actually shortly after he got out of jail, but before he was kicked out of what used to be his house while he was still paying rent to his soon-to-be ex-wife.
Beautiful. And next on the list, so we all agreed on Todd being S tier.
Yeah. No, Todd Wood is S tier creationist. He's close to transcending the list in my opinion, like Sal is, but because Sal engages a bit more, I think Sal transcends the whole thing. Todd Wood is right in there.
Everyone in the chat, congratulate Todd Wood right now. He's the winner of the list so far.
There you go. I don't recognize the next person.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Walt Brown, who is.
Okay, so before.
Oh no!
Why does it look like it's from a news report?
Before we do Walt Brown, can we just say I think I think in an earlier draft of the list we had Fuzz Rana on the list. And I think we can all agree, just in general, if he was in here, that would be like S or A somewhere.
Oh
in
yeah,
there,
yeah,
right?
definitely.
Yeah. So it's not that Todd Wood is the only one, but there's a small group. And,
Listen, I would put a lot of the old Earth creationists who work at Reasons to Believe on the upper echelon because you know a lot of them, interestingly enough, are guys who have experience, or at least more experience than what you find in the young Earth creationist camp with geology. Which is why, unsurprisingly, they look at the biology, they're not as well versed, and they find it much more incredulous, I guess you would say, but they know the geology, and that's why they're older.
That would be incredible. Incredulous is something you talk about as a person is incredulous. Okay. Ideas or evidence are incredible.
Thank you, our linguist. I appreciate that.
I wear many hats.
I'm into
history, linguistics, dinosaurs.
He is the Mad Hatter.
Yes, of course they're all black top hats with a red band though. Those are all of the hats are those.
So I'm just looking up a little bit about Walt Brown. Apparently, he is the architect of the hydroblade theory of the flood.
That alone is really bad.
So I would put him in Shadow Realm.
No, so here's the thing, right? I'm going to argue D, and here's one of the reasons, right?
D.
No, look, here's the thing, right? His ideas are completely crazy, but no one cares. Even the other creationists are like, whatever. You're crazy. We don't care about you. Just go away.
That is a good point.
No, dude. The audacity of Walt Brown to, first of all, he's highly influential. He's got Bob Enyart, who runs Real Science Radio, which has a decent reach. Right under his
thumb. Okay, that's a fair point. Actually, I accidentally listened to some of that when I was in Colorado once, and I was like, what am I even hearing? What is this?
Walt Brown of the hydroplate theory on his own website gives the number of, I think it's 2.2 times 10 raised 38 ERGs of energy for the entirety, the minimum of the entirety of his hypothesis for energy release during the flood, which is, for those of you who are curious and have perhaps not caught my hydroplate video, approximately 1,000 trillion 1 megaton H-bombs per square meter of water for I believe, the first 40 days of the flood. It's a lot of energy. And Walt Brown looks at this and he's like, we're working on it. Like, we're figuring it out, you know?
Let's be real here. Walt Brown is a mechanical engineer, if I remember correctly, talking about geology. While also ignoring every problem with this hypothesis.
I also just want to ask,
use that word.
I get why an engineer might want to measure that kind of energy in ergs, but just use joules, man. Just stop it. Just don't use ergs. Use joules for that kind of energy. For one thing, it'll make your math easier. What's up?
Is it ergs? I've been saying ERGs this whole time.
So I'll say this. We used ergs occasionally when I was going through the schooling to become a nuclear technician. Because also I was a nuclear technician, so that's a thing.
I was going to say, ergs is a radiation thing.
Yeah, we call them ergs.
Okay, I'm with you. I will stow that away for future thought. Sorry, guys, I've been calling it ERGs. You call it ergs. Trust Dapper over me on that.
I mean, double check with other people who do nuclear physics stuff, because I mean, I went to school for that 12, 13 years ago, and
there's a host of them.
Brained up a lot of it. Yeah, Steve would know. If Steve and I agree on nuclear physics, there's a fair chance that's probably the right answer.
Yeah.
But we don't always. Sometimes either of us are kind of like, I don't remember. So,
all right, so where's this guy going?
I'll go. I will compromise very, very reluctantly and allow him to reside in F tier.
Yes,
that's as far as I can go.
He belongs at the very end of F tier.
Unless I'm outvoted. If you guys want to outvote me for D, that's fine. I'm going.
He must be the lowest in F tier, no matter what. Because
I vote F tier.
Okay, we're in F tier. Last of all is Ray Comfort.
Oh my
man.
F tier.
Ray Comfort is my personal favorite creationist on the list, just because he is literally the epitome of the Dunning-Kruger effect. He has no freaking clue what he's talking about whatsoever, and yet he speaks so confidently that he knows what he's talking about, specifically the banana argument and the crocodile argument. And on the 150th anniversary of the origins of the species, he actually published an edition where he gave like a 50+ page introduction to that.
Mm-hmm.
He also has his own study Bible called the Ray Comfort Study Bible. So he is very, very influential. Yeah, it's called the Evidence Bible by Ray Comfort. So it's basically a whole study Bible. So just because of his influence, his dishonesty and ignorance, he goes in the shadow realm.
And also, to add to his dishonesty, he likes to do this thing where he goes out to the street to just ask people things.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He not only dishonestly edits it, but he specifically tries to get people. The ones he shows are the people who tend to know the least about the questions he's asking, and that really bugs me. Like he'll walk around like the humanities section of some campus and be like, "So, what do you think about biological evolution?" And there's some art major like, "I don't know. What do you? I paint. What do you want from me?"
He's pretty eager to have a conversation, though. I will say, Ray Comfort is down to have a chat, and I very much enjoyed that he created like an entire like little documentary. I think it was called The Fool, where he was like, everyone's making fun of me for my banana thing, so I'll make a documentary on it and show them all. Which I have a lot of. I think that's a very cosmically funny concept.
Didn't he also have a documentary called like Audacity or something, which is like anti-gay marriage and stuff?
I can't.
So Ogre 343 makes a good case for A+ though, because he says he or she, I don't know. Says for all those wonderful memes. Let's be serious. A+ for all those wonderful memes. I mean, that is the best argument for an A tier for Comfort.
Banana.
I think I am going to argue for B tier. I think that B.
Yes,
like
meme.
Bravo.
Meme.
I think the meme is good. I think that while the rampant homophobia that would come from Audacity is horrible, I think if we're ranking all of these particular individuals on how homophobic they are, we've got a whole filled shadow realm.
I don't want to. I don't want to say that for all of them. There's a number where we can make reasonable assumptions based on what they have written about things like, God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, and Adam can't change into, we based on a few specific cases, we can make very clear distinctions. For the rest, I wouldn't want to characterize their views. We can draw conclusions based on other things, but
for instance, Beahey doesn't strike me as like the super far right Christian guy. So
That's fair.
that's one I was like,
Or Fadi, though.
Okay, so real quick about Ray Comfort. If I could share my screen, one of the things he does when he does his street preaching thing is he says the test your IQ. This is his whole spiel. This is one of the things that he does to draw people in. And so yeah, there is Ray Comfort with the test your IQ thing. And so these are just the type of questions that he asks the people.
Oh.
And so that's one of his big things.
Wait a minute, hey Neff, can I just comment for a second? So he makes sure that people who are criticizing an idea know about that idea before they're able to like critique it.
I'm sorry.
So one of the things he does is he like quizzes people to see if they actually know anything about the idea they're critiquing before they actually criticize that idea.
Yeah,
I think that's a good policy. Personally, just speaking personally, I think you should know something about the idea you're.
By the way, speaking of
I
this,
think that's a good idea for everybody.
speaking
If
of
you're going
which-
to critique an idea, to know about that idea and show you know about that idea. Just saying.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of that, Dr. Dan has had a creationist challenge up on his YouTube channel for more than 6 months now.
You're right. How many creationists have taken that challenge?
Nice segue.
I believe it. I'm pretty sure it was basically none.
Yeah.
A handful have agreed, but nobody has actually.
Yeah,
like,
I could have
I
seen
don't know.
standing for tinnitus agreed, but never
Yeah.
actually.
Well, until the person who agrees has died, you can't technically say that they bailed.
that's true. That's
Yeah,
true.
true.
Maybe they'll get back to me.
By the way, Dr. Dan, it'll be fun to you and I do that in private or whatever. Just ask
Yeah, we'll do it later. All right, sorry, that was me.
Yeah,
just
but anyway, yeah, that's
sorry.
completely irrelevant. But yeah, I would put him in Shadow tier, Shadow Realm, just because of his overall ignorance and his memes.
I think dude's got to go shadow.
Can
This has
I
gotta
just
be
have a
shadow.
potential like quick counter argument though? Right. I feel like people like Ray Comfort and Kent Hovind have had a net negative effect on creationism. More
That is
people
true.
have left creationism because of them than stayed creationist.
Yeah, exactly. And
No.
That might be true. But then you would elevate Kent out of Shadow tier, and I'm not comfortable with that.
I think you gotta
It's
put
consideration.
shadow.
I am one of them, by the way.
Same.
One
Well,
of the
not
reasons why I left Christianity and younger creationism was the sheer dishonesty of the best apologists they have. Like, here's the thing: if you have the truth, why are you lying about the evidence, and why are you lying about what the science says?
Why do you have to lie about bananas? Why are you gonna
Yeah,
do that?
exactly. And why are you lying about crocodiles and all? Like, he should know better.
I actually think Ray was honest about bananas, and he was just dumb.
It's dumb. Yeah.
Yeah, Ray is
I generally agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. Ray doesn't strike me as someone who is like malevolent. Like he doesn't feel sinister to me. Like Hovind kind of. Like Hovind has a malicious agenda. I feel, but
Here's I think there's different levels of it. Like there's like you talk with Kent and like Erica, you've not directly, but via video, like you've done a debate with Kent, you've spoken with him directly. Like it's just the Deadeye thing. Like there is no soul back there, right?
Yeah.
But there's also the I'm cheerful and friendly, and I'm gonna be your pal while I make my argument.
yeah,
And the thing is, the second thing is not less insidious than the first thing because they're doing the same thing. It's just a different mask, or maybe a mask versus a lack of a mask. But
Yeah, I'm pretty. Yeah.
it's
so
just,
I'm trying. I guess I'm trying. From my perspective, I'm trying to look at it from a state of without full knowledge what I think intent is, and I would agree. I think if we could somehow provide support for the idea that Ray is coming from a place of I'm going to win you over and then lie to your face, then I totally agree. Shadow Realm, but are we sure he's not just dumb?
Well,
I think he is high in his own supply, but he knows in his heart of hearts that what he is saying, there's no way. I am not willing to accept that there is somebody who talks about this as a profession who thinks crocodile and bananas are good arguments. I'm not willing to accept that premise.
Yeah, same here, and that's why I think he goes into the Shadow Realm.
I'm okay with that. Okay, we're tossing Banana Man into the Shadow Realm with the understanding that we have also gotten good memes out of him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look,
Yeah.
we've gotten good memes out of Kent Hovind too. So
Yeah, we have.
Not quite as many, just because, I mean, going on actual TV with the banana thing was just... but, yeah.
Oh, and another thing he was talking about, like, I can't remember where I saw it, but he was talking about a dog or whatever as evidence against evolution.
Oh, lovely. Lovely.
Yeah, like,
And one of my favorite bits from Comfort is when he seems to think that, like, the first member of a new group would just be born as a hopeful monster and then have to wander around hoping to find a mate.
Yeah,
And
he
it's
can.
like, what are you talking about, dude?
yeah.
That is
how any of this works.
Kent level, guys. This is the full finished tier list. Everyone out there in the internet ether, please let us know if you agree with this tier list. You can tell us in the comments. You can shoot Creationists an email. You can hop on Dapper Dinosaur's Discord. But I am very eager to hear your thoughts about this, and so is everybody on the panel, because we had some controversial placings tonight.
Yeah. No. If
I
I were doing this on my own, it would not be the exact same list.
Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed this. I certainly had a good time. I enjoyed this a lot. We have been bopping around. I mean, I don't know if we're doing this as a joke or not, but we could do a non-professional creationist tier list if we wanted to.
I would love to do that.
Yeah.
It would be something that we could do. If you're interested in the chat and you think, hey, I would like to see a YouTube creationist tier list, let us know.
I am 100%
Nephilim free and some standing for truth in here.
Oh yeah, standing for truth for S tier and fraud Matt for Shadow Realm.
Raw matlet for Shadow Realm.
Ooh,
Yeah,
raw matlet.
Yeah, I call it
Uncooked matlet.
I call him fraud Matt because of his fraud.
Y'all, if we do a unprofessional creationist tier list, Robert Byers gets S tier automatically.
Byers.
Byers.
It depends on, we'd have to be very specific. Is it just YouTube, or is it YouTube and Reddit? Like, we'd have to be very specific.
You could also
We can hash that out. We'll figure that out.
We'll figure it out. We'll talk.
Yeah, we'll talk. Okay, everyone, thank you for being here. Please subscribe to everyone in the panel. Those of us who have channels, I think it's everybody. Does anyone have anything super pressing that they want to shill for really fast before we head out?
I mean, it's not terribly pressing, but I think I'm going to be talking with Altangelo on Saturday again on my channel. So we're the thing that I sent him that he seems to have agreed to is we're going to discuss falsification and the scientific method, because as I learned just recently in my debate with him, he apparently has no idea about that. And I'm not here to so much argue. I want to educate Altangelo on falsificationism, because dude, you gotta know that.
By the way, couple things. Just Dr. Dean and I are doing a thing with Dr. Nathaniel Jeanston next week. It is going to be fun. You definitely do not want to miss it. How would you guys feel? Would anyone be down for an open mic on my channel?
Right now?
Right now?
Like right after this place. Right after.
I can't do it right now. Sorry.
Normally I would be down, but I am about to eat and watch a movie I just got back in town. So
okay.
I would maybe hop in a chat later if you hosted it.
I've got non-YouTube people currently begging for my attention, and I've been ignoring them most of the day, so I should probably stop doing that.
Yeah, fair enough. But real quick though, there are 107 people watching, but only 67 likes. So please hit that like button and hit that subscribe button.
Erica, can I make one more shameless plug here?
Please, plug away.
I'm really excited. Next week, Neff and I haven't figured out the specifics. Probably either Tuesday or Wednesday, we're going to talk about this Jeanston thing. I'm so excited. Neff, you really got Jeanston's number on this one, and I'm super excited to talk about it.
Dude, I'm excited just hearing about it.
I am happy to shill it here as much as possible.
And the second thing is, y'all, I am currently standing at 480. I'm waiting for the tab to open. 480 something subscribers, and it would be really cool to hit 500 at some point.
Tonight.
Yeah, I got 489. So
yeah, and I'm at 149 for my subscriber count.
We'll sub to everyone here. If you're subbed to me and you're not subbed to these guys, you're missing out, because these guys make excellent content.
And so do you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. But
I haven't done anything in a little while because
speaking of raw mat,
want it done, but I haven't been able to work on it.
Speaking of raw mat, I just did a very spicy video about raw mat that came out today.
It's very sassy. It's a sassy dino who's coming on screen and just roasting our pal Raw Matt.
Spoilers: Raw Matt gives all the reasons why therapsids are closely related to mammals but aren't mammals, while also saying they're mammals. So,
he just straight up
Gotta
says
love
they're
it.
mammals.
Yeah.
Raw Matt, listen, guys, Raw Matt is built different, okay? He's on a different level from the rest of us.
Is he special?
Look,
He's on another level.
we could put him in a tier in terms of English language use amongst creationists, and he would get the Shadow Realm.
Let's save all this for if we do something like that. We should
That's
save
fair,
all
yeah.
this.
We can't just blow all the ammo right now.
Yeah. Let's keep our powder dry, all right?
Okay.
Yeah, Leo Filius just entered the chat as well. He's our resident physics guy. If you enjoy talks on physics, and he didn't get to come in here and trash talk Lyle like we would have enjoyed because he's got Lyle's number. Subscribe to Leo and anyone in the chat who feels like plugging your channel, feel free because this is I'm very much a big fan of this idea of a community that helps each other out and shares cool content. And with that, I think we're going to go ahead and end this. Guys, thank you again for being here. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you are interested in a non-professional creationist tier list, let us know in the comments. And let us know if you enjoyed this tier list and if you agree or if you disagree. Stay gentle, stay modern, and take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ah!
Bye, everybody.
I want to take a moment during this first month of a brand new year to thank my patrons and my channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Ben Hovind, Ian Chen, Sphincter of Doom, and Henry Hutanen. You guys really helped me get through the last year, and it was a rough one, and I cannot thank you enough. Now, if anyone here is listening and isn't supporting but would like to, there's a link to my Patreon down in the description, as well as the option to join the channel underneath this video. If those aren't right for you, there's also a Teespring store, and if none of that works for you, please just like and share this video, because that helps this channel grow, and that really helps out.